Welcome back to today's explainer. Okay, so listen up, because two of the absolute biggest AI announcements of 2026 literally just happened, practically back to back. But what's really fascinating here is that almost nobody is talking about what they actually mean when you put them together. On one hand, we've got NVIDIA making massive, industry-shaking moves with their Nemotron lineup, and on the other, China's Z.AI just dropped GLM-5.2. Now, individually, sure, they are massive leaps forward in the open AI space. But combined, well, that is where the real magic happens.
Now, you might immediately think we're setting up a standard heavyweight title fight here. It's so easy to look at a multi-agent ecosystem and a massive context engine and view them as direct competitors fighting for the exact same market share. But I really want to subvert your expectations right out of the gate. These two releases aren't competing for the same job at all. Actually, they form what we can call a one-brain, one-workforce workflow. By the end of this explainer, you're going to see exactly how combining them creates a system that's so much more powerful than either one operating alone.
All right, let's dive into Section 1. Meet the models, NVIDIA Nemotron and GLM-5.2.
So, back at GTC in March, NVIDIA announced the Nemotron Coalition. Think of this as a massive all-star alliance. You've got founding members like Mistral AI, Cursor, LangChain, and Perplexity, and they are all pulling their research, their evaluation data, and their raw compute power on NVIDIA's DGX cloud infrastructure. Now, what's genuinely interesting here is the focus. Nemotron isn't trying to be the model that writes you a beautiful flowery poem. It is designed specifically to run operations. We're talking about multi-agent systems, complex tool use, long-running autonomous tasks, and heavy enterprise deployment.
NVIDIA is aggressively building the AI workforce. They've already been laying the groundwork with the current Nemotron 3 family, which, includes the Nano, Super, and Ultra models. But the coalition's whole collaborative structure means that instead of one single company trying to outbuild the entire industry entirely on its own, multiple top-tier labs are feeding their specific expertise into one single open model line. So whether that's advanced multimodal capabilities or complex agent harnesses, it's all feeding into this coordinated, industry-wide effort that will eventually culminate in the highly anticipated Nemotron 4.
Moving right along to Section 2. Enter GLM-5.2, the open weights brain from Z.AI.
Okay, if there's literally just one thing you take away about the June 13th release of GLM 5.2, let it be this staggering headline number: 1 million usable tokens. That is roughly 5 times larger than the context window we saw in the previous iteration, GLM 5.1, and we really need to emphasize the word usable here. This means the model is specifically engineered to actively track, retrieve, and reason across that entire massive input, rather than just technically accepting the data and then, completely forgetting the first half of it when it actually goes to generate a response.
Under the hood, this incredible context window is powered by a 744 billion parameter mixture of experts architecture, and it operates with 2 very distinct reasoning modes. First, you have high mode. This is perfect for everyday tasks, general documentation, standard code review, all without burning through excess compute. But then, you have max mode. Max mode is engineered for the deep work. We're talking complex architectural decisions, repository-scale multi-step debugging, and holding just an absurd amount of moving parts in its memory all at once to map out massive overarching strategies.
Adding a really fascinating layer to this release, Z.AI is putting GLM 5.2 out there under the MIT license. They are explicitly framing this as a push for radical openness, with the open weights expected to drop shortly after the initial launch. So look at what we have here. We have the ultimate open weights brain on one side with GLM, and the ultimate open agent ecosystem on the other side with Nemotron. It perfectly sets up our core dynamic. One thinks and one does.
So, what happens when you actually put them to work together? Let's get into Section 3, Practical AI Workflows, combining the brain and the workforce. Let's walk through our first real-world scenario, document automation. Imagine you've got an entire project's worth of documents, market reports, technical specs, past research papers, financial histories, the whole shebang. Step 1, you literally just drop that entire massive stack of PDFs straight into GLM 5.2. Because of that 1 million token window, there is absolutely zero need for chunking or complex retrieval tricks. Step 2, GLM 5.2, running in its intensive max mode, synthesizes everything, spots the hidden patterns, and creates a highly structured action plan. Then step 3, you hand that exact plan over to Nemotron, which executes the individual steps by spinning up its agent swarms.
I absolutely love how this quote sums the whole thing up. GLM 5.2 is the analyst. Nemotron is the team that executes. Think about it. Nemotron receives that structured checklist from GLM 5.2. and instantly spins up individual, highly specialized agents. One agent might be out there continuously monitoring the web for new market data that matches the plan. Another is drafting follow-up emails to stakeholders. A third is continuously updating your internal company wikis. It becomes this perfect, uninterrupted, closed-loop system of analysis and action.
Or let's look at a second example, the living tutor workflow. Step 1. You load a complete, unabridged textbook curriculum right into GLM 5.2 in a single pass. Every single chapter, every footnote, every appendix. Step 2. GLM 5.2 holds all of that material in its mind at once. It maps out core concepts, identifies where students usually get confused, and builds an optimal, totally personalized learning sequence. Step 3. Nemotron takes that map and completely takes over the day-to-day operations. It runs one agent to generate fresh daily quizzes, another agent to track the student's progress and grade assignments, and a third agent to act as an always-on interactive tutor.
And this brilliantly illustrates the synergy. When you look at how the roles are split down the middle, it makes so much sense. GLM 5.2 handles the deep research and strategy with its massive context window, spitting out structured plans. Nemotron takes those plans and handles all the automation and orchestration through multi-agent swarms, resulting in continuous execution. GLM 5.2 understands the whole picture from 30,000 feet up, and Nemotron runs the ongoing background tasks down in the trenches. It is truly a match made in heaven.
But hey, we need to talk about where things actually stand today. Section 4, Limitations and Reality Check, Navigating the Friction.
All right, let's pump the brakes for a second to be completely objective here, because there are definitely a few hurdles right now. First off, GLM 5.2 launched without published benchmarks. We don't have SWE bench or live code bench data publicly available just yet. And as history clearly shows us, long context models often lose their accuracy the further out you push them. So that 1 million usable context claim, it remains unproven by independent third-party stress tests. Also, while that MIT license is incredibly exciting, those promised open weights are currently pending. They aren't available to pull from platforms like Hugging Face yet. And over in NVIDIA's camp, remember that Nemotron 4 is still in active development. The Nemotron 3 family is what we actually have our hands on to build with today.
So when you map it out, there is definitely a notable gap between what is announced and what is actually available today. We're kind of living in the space between the initial launch dates and the future availability of the true open weights and that finalized Nemotron 4 model. We also have to acknowledge the reality that these releases are happening against a backdrop of real geopolitical friction and global AI export restrictions. That undoubtedly shapes how, when, and why these companies choose to deploy their open-source strategies globally.
But here's what you really need to take away from this. None of this friction means you should just skip these models. Quite the opposite, actually. It just means that right now, as the dust settles on what is promised versus what has actually shipped, you need to build smart workflows. Design your systems with robust version checking and really solid fallback options. That way, your enterprise architecture doesn't completely break if a beta feature stumbles or an API temporarily goes down.
Which brings us to our final takeaway. Section 5, the future of OpenAI, the ultimate usable stack. Let's reiterate the core thesis of today's explainer one last time. Separated, GLM 5.2 and Nemotron are highly impressive technical achievements. But combined, they create a genuinely usable, holistic open-source stack. You literally have an unparalleled engine to understand on one side and a tireless, scalable workforce to execute on the other.
So as this space continues to evolve at literally breakneck speed, I have to leave you with a fascinating question. Between a massive 1 million token context window that can digest entire corporate repositories in a single breath, or a dynamic, highly orchestrated multi-agent ecosystem that can run your business logic on complete autopilot, which one are you watching more closely?
I really want to hear your thoughts on this because the community insights are always the absolute best part of these explainers. So please, like, share, subscribe, please, and drop a comment in the comment box.